This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, truth seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome Nolan Del Campo to the show this morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, and thank you for always being here. I definitely appreciate you.
I try. Sometimes circumstances beyond my control sometimes.
That's life, right?
Yeah.
It's a fallacy that we control anything.
Yeah.
I have a few things I just want to cover for some laundry and research this week, which I thought was interesting, but I did bring back up that confession letter that was missing from Peter Wilson's file, which has still got me a little bit on fire. But you mentioned something that I didn't think about last week because I had covered the letter without you. So I just wanted to bring it back up because it's a very good point that you made. We'll go ahead and throw up on the screen this confession letter. Now, this is the Palo Alto Police Department, and I believe the name of this officer is Jay Verna, and he had taken a confession from William Coleman the morning after, and this confession says, original contact to subject William Coleman, and this is on 3/31/96. It says, during original contact to subject William Coleman for collecting evidence for 911 call from residents in Palo Alto, subject William Coleman told me he had sex with victim Kim on the night of the murder on 3/30/96. Yeah. Now we see that he's placed it in evidence, and here's Jay Verna's sign off, and I'm assuming his officer number. Now we have this entry down here at the bottom, which I was just tasked with identifying that handwriting, and we do recognize that to be my officer Michael Yore, which is the arresting officer who planted the blood evidence. I don't know if you were with us when I talked about that blood evidence, but I did review a report from a medical examiner who stated that there was only 2 drops of Mr. Wilson's blood found at the scene. Two drops.
And that's well, he had injured his hand in an accident with a cab, right? And it was all
but this was planted blood. So you got to remember he was in the hospital basically when William Coleman is having sex.
Right.
I'm sure that he threw that out there because they were going to find his biological evidence. So he wanted to cover it and make it look like it was consensual to begin with. But William Coleman was in the hospital, or Peter Wilson was in the hospital having his pinky. He had broken a finger and had a fingernail torn off on his pinky. And and that happened in the cab ride in San Francisco when he was exiting the cab at Caltrans. The cab driver accidentally slammed his hand in the door. So everybody recognizes this injury to be a brand new one that happened 2 hours after the time that purportedly the DA claimed that Hak-Ju Kim was killed. And he was in the hospital having this addressed and was there at the hospital until 10 p.m. at night. William Coleman doesn't get off work and get home until approximately 8:30. And that's when he's stating that he's had this sex with Hak-Ju Kim before she ends up murdered. And found by Mr. Wilson at 3 a.m., 3:58 a.m., whatever that is. The bigger question, which you brought to mind, which was, even though we know that Officer Yore had $400,000 worth of motive in order to, basically get Peter Wilson convicted so he could never contest this lost money or anything else that was missing at the time. But you mentioned that Verna would have had to have known about this particular situation, right? I mean,
I would think so.
Yeah.
He signed off on it. I mean, otherwise it could make him look bad.
Right. Well, and it gets removed obviously from Michael Yor, not from Jay Verna. But even if Yor had done this behind his back, you've got to think that they have cop talk, right? They're talking shop about what's going on, what cases are being convicted, and he knows. And I don't know if he knows all the evidence involved with the case, but it seems very suspicious that he stand up and say something about this testimony.
So that never came out at trial then, at either
Oh,
trial.
it was removed from the file. So page
but
9 and
just the fact that he had made the statement to begin with.
Yeah, it was removed.
Sex. So nobody asked him about that then.
I guess in the original trial, he had been discussing or had been testifying to the fact that he had been having relations on some type of a basis with Hak-Ju Kim, and he would go down into the basement to have sex with her. I don't know. Again, that sounds to me like a leading statement that is going to lead you to believe that I just don't see why she would end up dead after one of these sexual encounters. Him being the only one there, suspicion of him absconding and leaving the country, cutting off his bracelet, his ankle bracelet, and leaving the country if he wasn't in fact guilty for this murder.
And conveniently, he said it was a pattern. It wasn't just one time, one little fling. That way it makes it look like, it's not out of the ordinary for it to happen that night.
Exactly.
And we don't know that. He could have been lying through his butt.
Well, he probably raped her and killed her in the process, knowing that he was going to find himself in a whole lot of trouble. It would be my guess.
Lucky he was able to blame his roommate.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that Mr. Wilson had never walked in on one of these events. If they were actively on a constant basis having sex and meeting up in the basement, Wilson claimed that she never went down into the basement, that it was basically just a story.
He knew nothing about this. So, I don't believe. Well, I believe this statement that he had sex with her that night, but I don't believe it was an ongoing thing.
Yeah, dead or alive, did he?
yeah, that's the other issue.
Yeah. Hold the pants down. There's a leaf on her buttocks underneath her underwear and underneath her pants that's found by the coroner once they remove her clothes, which means that she was on that floor butt naked and then redressed at least halfway at that point. Wow. Either way, I do believe, and I think that it's very poignant to point out to everybody that this other officer took this particular confession, which confirms that Peter Wilson could not have killed her because she was alive at the time he was in the hospital having his hand addressed from the cab accident. So onward and upward, we're going to do something about that. I just don't know what. All right. So since we've been talking so much about the Epstein stuff, we just saw that the House votes 427-1 to release the Epstein files, sending the bill to the Senate. It says Representative Clay Higgins, a Republican from Louisiana, was the only member to vote against the measure, which I thought that was interesting, but I do kind of understand his philosophy. It says overcoming months of opposition from President Trump and his Republican allies. Now, of course, I'm sure that this is, media is weaponized this statement to make it look bad on Trump. But as we get into the article, they kind of flip the script really quick. So if you only read the first couple lines of this, of course, you're hating Trump for not doing something he says he was going to do, right?
Right.
It says the U.S. House of Representatives on Tuesday overwhelmingly voted to pass a bill to compel the Justice Department to release all of its files related to the investigation of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The vote was 427-1, with Representative Clay Higgins, a Republican from Louisiana, being the only member to vote against the legislation known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It needed 2/3 of the House to pass, and that's an overwhelming pass at 427-1. Higgins explained his no vote in a lengthy post on X. He says, "I've been a principled no on this bill from the beginning," Higgins wrote on X. "What's wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt, not by my vote," he says. So let's talk about that. I do believe that it can possibly hurt people. Epstein is dead, right? So what's there really to hide or conceal? If they're concerned about people who's given alibis to others, then what? what's the concern there? They're going to be injured because it's going to be found out that they lied and they hindered an investigation.
Well, they deserve to be injured.
Exactly. So I'm not really quite. I get it, witnesses and family members, of course, because but they have the right to redact these names. They have the right to redact the individuals that they want to keep private.
I think victims and family members of victims, I think, want to know too. I think they
do.
want it revealed.
100% want it revealed.
So to be afraid of them being harmed, I think, is unfounded.
Exactly. Let's see. And the other thing is that, when they talk about the 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America, we have so many crimes that have gone unsolved that family members have to actively fight in the court system to get FOIA files released in order to, follow up any type of leads or investigation that occurred in the case.
250 years of criminal injustice.
Well, we're going to get to that. The bipartisan measure introduced in July by Democratic Rep. Ro Khanna of California and co-sponsored by Republican Rep. Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Now, this is interesting because they claim that Trump and the Republicans were the ones that were not wanting it, right? But this bipartisan measure was actually introduced by it says by Democratic Rep. Ro Khanna of California and co-sponsored by Republican Rep. Thomas Massie of Kentucky. So not all Republicans, obviously, were on board with we're going to hide these things.
I think what happened that made it turn, Trump just backed away from his opposition to it because he thought it was hurting him politically. So he said, well, just go ahead. And so that's when the majority of the Republicans said, okay, let's go forward.
Lindsay says she's here if one can let her in. And, the other part of that is that just like Trump was instructed not to release the JFK files in his first round, I find it probable that he was also instructed not to release these files as well, because it's going to hinder, harm, or injure them, the people that are involved, not necessarily Trump individually, but he clearly is just that puppet and only allowed to release what people are allowing him to release. So don't get mad at him for something that he can't get passed or done when there's so much opposition coming secretly, obviously. He's not going to come back and tell us who said don't release it. We're never going to hear those.
I think a lot of information has already been destroyed, too.
Yeah. So it goes on to say would require the DOJ to publish in a searchable and downloadable format all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials related to Epstein within 30 days. Some of Epstein's survivors watched Tuesday's vote from the House gallery. The bill's passage drew cheers from the chamber. Trump, who for months had opposed the release of the files, reversed course on Sunday, urging House Republicans to vote for their disclosure because we have nothing to hide. So,
note it says non-classified. So they're not going to release everything. They're going to categorize a lot of shit as classified.
A lot of people are saying that as they're looking through them, the emails or the documents, like the thousands of documents, that they are finding things. It's just sifting through them. It's just going to take time to sift through them. So
burdensome, yeah. Well, I'm sure there's some juicy stuff in there. No
pun intended. I've heard there is. You just have to dig for it.
But we're not going to know everything.
Right.
I don't know if we'll get that smoking gun. But there are interesting things that are revealed.
Well, and that's going to lead me right on into Ghislaine Maxwell, because of course I found some interesting things online about that too. What's next? It says the legislation now heads to the Senate, which must pass it before it is sent to Trump to sign.
She doesn't want to get killed like Epstein.
Who's that?
Ghislaine.
Well, I think she's being protected. I mean, my honest thoughts is that she's just part of that mob. She may even be a MK Ultra socialite, because she is a socialite. And we do see that in these documentaries that they're talking about her almost as if she was programmed to be this way through her father, through his dealings, through the people they dealt with. And she was a super sexually active person who was trying to always get people to have sex. It wasn't just about providing the need for Epstein. Some of the things she did is absolutely crazy. If I was at a party as a guest and she had presented some of these options to me, I would have been absolutely floored and blown away. Yeah, I would.
Well, and that's an indicator of being exposed to it as a child, so she thinks it's like okay to and automatically it's like an instinct to do it to others whenever they're older.
She found that she was getting the attention that she wanted when she introduced those type of things, for sure. And yes, you can be programmed. Yes, you can be brought up in a certain way. And I'm sure that she might be able to rely on that. But that doesn't mean you don't know the difference between right and wrong.
No, it doesn't.
You know, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't be secret, right? Otherwise, if you felt you were fine and that what you were doing was not wrong because of the way you were raised, then you just speak your truth. I remember when I was selling candles and I had become a leader, and we went to a leaders retreat. And of course, now I'm sitting around all the bigwigs, the ones that are way high up, and I'm at a table enjoying dinner with them. And I say, my leader taught me to do this. And they went, oh, that's illegal. You can't do that. That's not right. I was like, oh my God, I did not know. I was taught to do that. But I also wasn't ashamed in hiding it, right? I knew no better. So I said, this is what I do to make a goal or to achieve something. And I was explaining to how that was incorrect and the wrong way. And of course, the shame and the embarrassment that I felt at that point in time was kind of horrendous. But I learned that, oh, we just don't operate that way. Okay, so I needed to change my gears. So
you learn from it. Yeah. So
you learn and you change. You don't continue to do it. But when you're dealing with children, there's just that's a line that everybody grew up with. You know, you don't touch children. You don't abuse children. You don't provide children to your significant other because you can't keep up with his sexual needs. Like, this is just insane. So of course,
it's just like the same thing you would do with like drugs or alcohol. Like you don't put that in their reach, like for him to get. It's like the same concept.
Amazing how many rich and powerful people he had contacts with. I think a lot of these people just felt they're above the law, basically.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, this list came out, which I started going down the list, and I was like, wow, all these red stars that you're seeing next to names are all definite Democrats, right? But I couldn't find not even one Republican on this list. And as I'm having this discussion with my girlfriend, who's been my dentist for 30 years, we go back and forth between the heinous acts of politicians and the upper echelon of society. And I mentioned to her, I don't even see Republican names on here. I'll share this list with you. Adam Perry Lang, Akon, Al Gore, Alan Dershowitz, Albert Pinto, Alec Baldwin, Alan Badera Thiam, Allison Mack, Alyssa Rogers, Anderson Cooper, Andrea Mitrovich, Andres Pastrana, Angelina Jolie, Anthony Kiedis, Anthony Weiner, whatever, Barack Obama, Ben Affleck, Bernie Sanders, Beyonce Knowles, Bill Clinton, Bob Saget, Bruce Willis, I think that's supposed to be Casey Wasserman, Callum Hudson O'Doy, or O'Dowd, I'm not sure, Karen Casey, Celine Dion, Charles Barkley, Charlie Sheen, Charlize Theron, Chelsea Handis, Cher, Chris Tucker, Chris Wagner, Chrissy Teigen, Cindy Lopez, Claire Hazel, Courtney Cox, Courtney Love, Demi Moore, Dan Schneider, David Koch, David Spade, David Yarovesky, Dolores Zorgueta, Donovan Mitchell, Doug Band, Drew Barrymore, Ed Buck, Ed Tuttle.
Wow, that's a new one.
Which one?
You know, Drew Barrymore is Megan Walsh's cousin.
Really?
Really?
Well,
So,
that's
I'll have to share a picture of them as a kid on the show with you next time.
Wow. Yeah.
Where did this log come from?
It was posted somewhere on, actually, I think that it came up in a feed on Facebook and somebody had posted this.
I think that they go out of their way to avoid naming prominent Republicans.
Well, and as I did some research, of course, I saw that when Trump's purportedly agreed and said, Republicans, let's release this, he also went in and told them to remove any Republicans from any list or mention or names or anything else.
Yeah.
So as I was doing my research, and I thought it was odd. It's like I told Monica, I was like, these are all, at least all the red stars are definite. I'm wondering if I go back, and I could guess that several more on here, like Anderson Cooper and Ellen DeGeneres and some of these other individuals that are on here are likely Democrats too, because of their lifestyles, right? They believe in same-sex marriage, which Republicans try to fight. So there are some that you could probably just assume are Democrats. And the lack of Republicans is what astonished me, and that's why I shot it over to her. But if Trump did in fact say it's fine to release them but remove any mention of Republicans, then that's why this type of a list that's just really bashing on Democrats is coming out instead of one that's full. And this list, I'm sure, is nothing in comparison to the actual names on it, especially if you're talking 1996 to what he got busted finally 2015, 2016, somewhere around there.
2019.
Well, 2019 is when he went to jail for it. When they started seriously looking at him.
A lot of these people on this list are really pro women's rights too, and very anti
liberals.
Yeah,
they're not down with child trafficking, sex trafficking. Like Whoopi Goldberg, come on,
right?
Oprah
loves children.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, this list is questionable.
No, and that's what I was saying
from
too.
A newspaper.
Well, and it's just people that associated with him and went to the island or had flown on his plane, right? It's not necessarily indicating that these individuals were involved, but
allegedly had association with him. We don't know.
Right.
I mean, we know some of them did. We know Clinton did. We know, several of the people on here we know did. But
we know Dershowitz did.
This is the first I ever heard. So.
Well, and Bush is not on there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
So that's what I'm saying.
Is
ultimately, this is what the media is doing, though, to us to enforce this hatred between groups of politicians. Right. We're going to put out a list, and I'm sure that somewhere floating around on one of my Dems friends' page is a list of all Republicans. Like, I get this stuff because I tend to be, mad at those in power in the Democratic stage. And we're going to talk about why here in just a second. So the partial release after Epstein's death on August 10th. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to read the other piece that came with this. So this was a posting. This list was a posting off of this meme that says Bush opened the case against Epstein in 2005. Obama buried it in 2009. Trump reopened it in 2019. Biden had the Epstein list his entire presidency. Get your facts straight. So everybody wants to bash Trump for not having released this stuff yet when Biden was in possession of all of this for the 4 years of his presidency. So Epstein's death, New York Judge Loretta Presko ordered the unsealing of documents from a defamation case against Ghislaine Maxwell in 2015. Anyone who had their name contained in these documents had until January 1st, 2024 to appeal to have their name removed, after which date the documents would be unsealed. The court documents unsealed in January 2024 contained little information that had not already been known public knowledge. Individuals mentioned in the released court documents included Prince Andrew, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, lawyer Alan Dershowitz, singer Michael Jackson, and physicist Stephen Hawking. Most were mentioned in passing and not accused of any wrongdoing. Model scout Jean-Luc Brunel, accused of sexual abuse by one of Epstein's victims, had died by suicide in 2022 in Paris, France, while under investigation for the rape and sex trafficking of minors. So does anybody know who this? Oh, it's a model scout. That's even scarier. Like her job is to find.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole thing about the model thing with that dealing with Epstein.
Oh, I'm sure. Well,
with France and all, that's how he would get them. He would get a bunch of them from there.
And so the suicide, it's funny that we've got Epstein committing suicide. We've got model scout Jean-Luc Brunel committing suicide. Like, are they suicided? Is more my question.
Well, if you look up how many under Clinton in associates with Clinton, how many of those have been suicides?
Oh yeah, like something like 104 people have reportedly.
It's insane.
It's a ridiculous number. There's no way. I know of one person, I think, in my life that has committed suicide, and it was many, 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 many moons ago. That is not something. 104 people around you. Come on.
No.
So on July 25th, when a CNN reporter asked Trump whether he planned to pardon Maxwell, he answered non-committally, "I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I haven't thought about." On August 1st, the Bureau of Prisons confirmed that following the interview, Maxwell was transferred. So following this question to Trump, she's been transferred to federal prison camp Bryan in Bryan, Texas, a minimum security facility with dormitory-style housing generally considered less unpleasant than other federal prisons.
Club
The White
Fed.
House... What's that?
Club Fed.
Club Fed. The White House
Oh,
told
yeah.
reporters that Maxwell had received no preferential treatment and suggested that her move was routine. Okay. Counter-arguing that the move was unusual, Senator Jack Reed on August 8 asked the director of Bureau of Prisons to explain. Additionally, contrary to the Bureau of Prisons' own rules for sex offenders, Maxwell was deemed eligible to work outside the Bryan prison. First reported on August 11th by Allison Gill. In November, she reportedly receiving special privileges and planning to apply for commutation of her sentence. The whistleblower that released this information was fired from the prison. So doesn't this kind of sound like Epstein in 2006? They jail him, but they give him the right to work out of the prison for most of the day.
Yeah.
Only returning, This is ridiculous. This is not the type of treatment. And we're not talking, I know child molesters that have molested one child and gone to prison for years. They were not released during that time. They were not set back out on the public to victimize again or to enjoy their life. They had to serve their sentence, do their dues, and then get out. We've got this happening now twice, not with just Epstein, but also with Maxwell.
But it wasn't very clear on when it said outside. Does that mean just outside in the yard?
No. This is a dormitory style. This is a dormitory style prison where it's not even really a very secure prison, is what it's making it sound like.
But I think it meant outside the prison premises.
Yes. Yeah. So just like Epstein was allowed to do. And what could she possibly be doing for work? I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
August 1st, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons confirmed that Maxwell had been transferred from FCI Tallahassee to Federal Prison Camp Bryan in Bryan, Texas, a minimum security facility among the facilities with the lowest level of security in the federal system, with limited or no perimeter fencing. That's what I was looking for. Limited
so that
or no.
sounds like a work release, because my husband works at work release and they don't have stuff around it.
Fences.
They could just walk outside.
Yeah, dormitory style housing with a relatively low staff to inmate ratio, regarded as one of the best federal prisons to serve time in. The White House told reporters that she had received no preferential treatment and suggested that her move was routine. On August 5th, Raja Krishnamurti, a U.S. representative, proposed to the U.S. House Committee on the Judiciary House Resolution 119-635, which affirms that Ghislaine Maxwell's conviction and sentencing were more than warranted by the facts, and any receipt of a pardon, commutation, or other form of clemency by Ghislaine Maxwell would deny survivors the justice they deserve, and formally opposes the granting of a pardon, commutation, or other form of clemency to Ghislaine Maxwell. Thereafter, Joseph Schnitt, the acting deputy chief of special operations for the Department of Justice, was caught on video claiming that Maxwell was transferred to a lesser security prison as a way to keep her mouth shut from countering anything said by the administration. The DOJ and Schnitt himself responded on 4th of September 2025 by stating that Schnitt had no connection to the Epstein case. On 22nd of August, the Department of Justice released transcripts and recordings of interviews with Maxwell. In November 2025, U.S. Congressman James Raskin reported that a whistleblower had informed him that Maxwell was receiving special treatment during her incarceration at a minimum security prison, including having custom meals delivered to her, guests allowed to bring computers during visits, access to a service dog and training as a companion, and having the warden send out documents and emails on her behalf. These alleged privileges sparked a probe into the Trump administration. And now, of course, we have somebody who's that whistleblower, I'm assuming, is the one they're discussing that was fired from the prison for releasing that information.
Where did you find this? Because no one's reporting it.
They don't want to report it. This was actually
I
just on
know.
which
I
this
love
was
finding juicy stuff like this because then we can put it out, and then it's like, haha,
yeah, it
this is
gets
the
hidden.
real news.
Yeah, if you're believing whatever it is that you have come across your TV, then there's no incentive. If they can feed you what they
Yeah.
feed you, there's no incentive to dive in and do any research. But again, I wanted to see what was going on with her after the fact, and I find that she's living a luxurious life, no different than
Wow.
what Epstein's first round was. And where is, I mean, we're this is a smack in the face to all the victims.
Yeah. I'm gonna look
But
up that prison and research it some.
well, Nolan said it's the luxury of federal prisons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
There's several like that. Like, for instance, in Pleasanton, there's a maximum and a minimum security there. And I had a client that was at both. I guess they didn't like what he was doing. He was at the minimum at first with unlimited access to phone and working outside and doing PE type stuff and, playing softball. But then I guess he got on their nerves. And they moved him over to the maximum side. So they're way different. Way different.
Right.
Well, here we have a work release. It's strictly work release, inmates only, and then we have the maximum one. So, and my husband works at the work release one, and they just go outside anytime they please and mow the lawn like it's their house. It's insane. Even if they're
That's
serving for
crazy.
murder, they let them do that. And I asked him, I'm like, why do they let them do that? And he's like, I don't know. Why don't you ask them? He's like, I just watch them.
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
in another feed that popped up on my phone this week is House Democrat charged with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds and making illegal campaign contributions. Now, I always like to err on the side of the fact that we know that the media will weaponize things and make somebody look guilty before they're found guilty. And of course, I want to caution everybody on that. But when I saw this, I did read it for what it was worth. And what it really meant to me is that this woman and her family owns a healthcare company. And then she is somehow voted in Florida as a Democrat. And during the COVID vaccine funding that was going on, they filtered off, I'm guessing, about $5 million. She used it for her campaign, is what it's saying, to enrich herself to become a politician, and that they basically were laundering this money and reusing it for themselves. My bigger complaint about this overall, I mean, I get it. She's a crook, and clearly FEMA, I mean, if you've been indicted, and that's what this is saying, she's been indicted. So it's not just a headline stating that she, did something that she may or may not have done just to ruin her reputation. She has literally been indicted in this particular article. But I was more upset with the fact that we have politicians who have a collective interest in medical and healthcare. And I feel like if you have stocks or shares or own a company, invest, interested in any of these type of things, you should not be a politician who makes the decision as to whether or not healthcare is controlled by the government and forced upon us in a way that isn't necessarily beneficial to us. I'm doing the new open enrollment right now, and I was shocked to see that the monthly, now, of course, there's the subsidy from the government, and that's what Trump is trying to say. Let's give that back to the people, and then it will create a supply and demand, which then should lower healthcare costs overall, because the insurance companies aren't getting free range of charging whatever they want because they're making whatever they want just to boost their profits. But mine's about $1,000 a month. So $12,000 a year is supposed to be paid to these healthcare insurance companies, which doesn't make any sense, because I'm lucky if I see Dr. Feel and Squeal and Smash and Grab, once every 1 or 2 years. I'm very low level maintenance as far as medical is concerned. I don't have medications that I'm on a daily or monthly basis. It's more like if I got one, it's because I had some issue with one thing. I got one prescription throughout the year and I'm done. And so this literally was asked of me as I'm filling out the application, how often I go, how many prescriptions I have. They are literally gauging your healthcare based off of your answers to this stuff.
Wow, they do that now?
Yes.
I haven't done the open enrollment in a long time because my work provides it for like entirely, thank God. But
Right.
I did used to do it, so I would have to go and do the same thing you did, and that's new because that used to not be on there.
Right.
So,
100%.
so you pay $1,000 a month currently?
That's what the bill is. 681 of that would be subsidy from the government, and then the
Okay.
balance of that 1,000 would be coming out of my pocket. Either way, they're still getting $1,000 a
They're still
month.
getting it, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's kind of Trump's point about it. He wants to pay people directly and not have the big medical people and hospitals and whatnot take their chunk. So I
right.
can understand that point, but it's still, I think the Affordable Care Act, I think, is important to a lot of people, and I don't like seeing it.
But to what degree? We're literally financing other people's. In my situation, we're literally financing other people's medical care.
Yeah.
And to me, I've always felt that insurance was basically legalized mob activity, paying me to protect
so
you.
What's your choice? If you don't have that, then you just got to have standard insurance, and that's going to cost just as much. Or you have no insurance, or you just quit your job and go on Medicare or Medi-Cal.
Oh, those are great options. Let me tell you. Those are great options. No, I'm just, again,
I'm lucky that I have insurance because I had 2 serious injuries this year.
Right. And there's that possibility. That's the chance you take by not being insured. It's no different. To me, it makes me feel like, could they one day force us to insure our electronics when we purchase them?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
You have to have homeowners insurance, and homeowners doesn't cover shit.
Right.
No, I had a leak, and it would not cover it.
And you have to have car insurance.
Yep. Yeah. You're forced on all ends to be insured.
And that has been changed to be based on your credit score, which I do not like. That is ridiculous.
I hadn't heard that.
It should not ever be. It shouldn't. Yeah, my husband told me that. I was like, why is this so much higher than because like when I had changed and got a different car, but it was like a while ago. It was like a couple years ago when I noticed it. I was like, why is it so high? Like all of a sudden, like $200 more. It's not because of the car, because it was the same year as the previous one, and nothing was different. And so
we did have some hikes. We did have some hikes in insurance over the last couple years. I have a friend that sells it for, I think it's Farmers or no, State Farm.
State Farm.
And and when they were getting ready to do the hikes, he would tell me that they had gone into agent meetings and they were discussing that we were going to see, a 30% increase. While I didn't see a 30% increase, I saw probably more like, maybe it is about a 30% increase. Yeah, because I went from roughly about $100 a month to $140 a month, $150 a month. So I did see that 30% increase that he was talking about. Either way, I just don't think that our politicians should have any interest or relation. To me, that would be like a notary notarizing their own document that benefited them against somebody else's harm, right? Yeah, that's a conflict of interest, if you ask me, because they're the ones meant to vote on these particular issues. Now, if they want to continue to subsidize it and require us to have insurance, Nolan, I am not against that. But let us be in control of that so that we can then create the supply and demand that reduces the cost of insurance. Because I saw that part of my fee, so roughly about $1,400 is the actual policy premium. But then there's another $400 use of insurance fee.
Great.
What the heck is a use of? Yes. What the heck is a use of insurance fee? We're forced to use you. You shouldn't be charging us for it. My rant.
So is that going to be enacted? That you're going to be required to do it again?
Well, no, what it is it's going to expire on December 31st. And this is why the Democrats were holding up the entire government from opening up after the shutdown, is because they were trying to get that leverage in to the funding to extend the ACA contributions to these insurance companies for, I don't know if it was just another year or what it was, but they're due to expire at the end of this month or at the end of December. And I say, let it expire. Let's renegotiate, give back to the people, and figure out a way to reduce these costs, because that's ridiculous. I mean, even to get a semi
Yeah, we should not be ever required to have it and get penalized at the end of the year. No,
if we don't have it. I literally started crunching numbers. I want to say that the penalty is about $4,800 if I don't take it and only pay the government $4,800 at the end of the year. That means I have taken $5,200 to $6,200 out of the insurance company's pockets by violating it and going against that policy on my own. See how that worked? No.
But then you wouldn't have insurance.
But what am I using?
I remember that time where they took it. They took it from me whenever I didn't have it. Every month that you didn't have it, they took a chunk.
Right. You're getting charged for whether you, and I will gladly pay the bill for Feel and Squeal. And for my one time a visit a year, maybe because I got some flu or virus or cold or whatever, I would gladly play that over $12,000 over a year.
Oh, it'd be a lot cheaper, yes.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, and then another representative, and I'm not being down on the Democrats, this is just the stuff I'm shown, was also indicted in June after she clashed with law enforcement officers in connection with the Trump administration's detention of undocumented immigrants. She pleaded not guilty to forcibly impeding and interfering with federal law enforcement officers at an ICE facility in her state. So we've got another indicted Democrat. These people
goes on a lot. I mean, a lot of legislators, especially in California, have been trying to bring light to all the wrongdoings and the Gestapo tactics of ICE and arresting people that are actually American citizens just because they have brown skin, things like that. And
is that true?
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
Is that just what the media is feeding us?
That's what I was wondering.
It's been happening in California, LA area mainly.
That's what I was wondering.
Sacramento too.
But that's what they're saying. And if these people can't prove up, all they're being asked is show us your documents. Right? Like once you show your documents that you're a legal citizen, then there's no further harm.
Well, do they have the right to ask that?
Why don't they?
Well, have this person committed a crime?
Well, some people have illegal, fraudulent documents.
Yeah.
It's like if you get pulled over in a car and they say, I need to see your ID.
Have you been drinking?
You don't have to legally give them your ID.
Here's the thing. Don't do that. I was told about that particular, it's oh gosh, my cousin tried to tell me the same exact thing. You're going to find yourself hemmed up because you're now resisting the request by the officer. My cousin tried to tell me, cuz I don't even need to have a driver's license because you don't even have to give it to them when they pull you over. That is complete BS because I also have a brother that's a CHP officer and he told me about all the crap. Well, you still have to have one. Yeah. I would use a better analogy of you're pulled over, sir. Have you been drinking tonight? No, I have not. All right, blow into this thing. You have an opportunity to prove your innocence.
That was where I was going to go next.
Yeah. So that to me is more of a good analogy for you got pulled over and they're now asking if you're a legal resident and you have to prove that up. That's no different. It's no different. You have an opportunity to prove your innocence. Back to Jonbenet Ramsey. Gosh, oh my God, you guys, we did 43 minutes on all my rants.
Well, that was a big update. I mean, really, because it's been silent on Epstein for a while, a good minute.
On the Epstein files?
Yeah.
I was kind of interested, like I said, and I climbed into it just because it looked to me that list was being catered towards the Republicans for us to hate Democrats. Clearly, there's no Republicans.
Made up by someone with an angle.
It's all with an angle. If it isn't for the fact that the rhetoric they're trying to put out there. So this could reinforce two things. One, we're going to make the Republicans mad at the Democrats because it's all Democrats on here. Or two, it's going to be attempting to prove up that somehow Trump instructed them to remove every Republican from the list. Either way, it's meant to cause division and hate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
correct.
On the Jonbenet Ramsey, we got to the heart. She had this red heart that was drawn on her hand. That it's crazy that anybody would be asked where this came from or why the parents would be questioned on this, because little kids write on themselves all the time. That is just the thing. You've had a little kid, they have at one point in time or another colored themselves or their siblings with a marker.
I want to know who did that though, because
why?
I don't think it was her.
What if it was just as innocent?
I don't think it was her.
Why?
I don't know. I've always had a good feeling about that.
Well,
All right,
I haven't
so
seen. Do you have a picture of it? Is there? A picture?
Yes, the picture's right here
Yeah,
in the
it's
right-hand
right there.
corner. Right
Oh.
here.
Okay.
And I don't think that she was it on the left or right hand?
Looks like the left.
It looks like her left. And that would make her right-handed. So that would mean that, well, I don't know if she is right-handed. That would be one of the questions to ask just to confirm. Here's
Yeah.
what I want to point out is that it's drawn in the direction you would draw it staring at yourself. If somebody else had drawn this on her hand, wouldn't the heart be the opposite direction?
I can't even tell it's a heart.
I know, me either. It's very
I think
very
I've seen
faint.
it so many times. That's how I see it.
It's very faint. I can't really make out that it looks like a heart. It's not a good heart. It's not a great looking heart. If it is, I mean, we've got a rounded bottom instead of a pointed bottom.
It could be a clue, or maybe it's nothing. Who knows?
I think it might be a distraction.
If I grabbed your hand and I pulled it towards me to write on it, that heart would be the opposite direction. The point would be towards,
or at least be sideways.
Something. It would not. Yeah, that would mean whoever did it was either sitting behind her and held her hand out in front of them to do it that direction, right? Or
you have to turn your hand.
Yeah,
like this.
It would have been awkward, and that just doesn't seem to me to be right. But again, I think it's neither here nor there that they focus so much on this red heart. But they dedicated, obviously, an entire article, crucial clue of the little red heart. Like it's big.
They're trying to say the context that because of this heart that Patsy changed her story.
No, I think that they just, they wanted to make a big deal out of the pineapple. They wanted to make a big deal out of this, that, or the other. This was just another.
I have something about the pineapple that I found out last week, and it was actually.
Hold on, let me finish this thought real quick. Okay. I know that in my side is that Jack had a red heart tattoo on his arm, and everybody has tried to play into that was some scheme or some evidence that Jack left behind that he committed this crime. Well, again, I don't feel that Jack committed this crime. I feel like he is a potential for the letter, but I think that would have been a group effort, and we'll see why later. But go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so. This is so random too, and I guess she mentioned it because I was watching something on Jonbenet last week, and my daughter came up and she was like,
something about pineapple.
Oh, your sound is gone.
You're breaking up. Lindsay.
Yeah, your sound is gone. Yeah, we can't hear you. She don't know we can't hear her. All right, so on to the other evidence. It says the absence of matching
TikTok video. Because she's not allowed on social media, obviously, but her friend had told her this.
Can you hear me?
So I don't know if it's true, but that's freaking weird. Then I put together her eating the.
Yeah, I can't. All right. Anyways, the absence of matching duct tape is what this was actually on the documentary. And so there was the absence of matching duct tape that was found on the body. So they did not find any duct tape in the entire house. So as if somebody had left with that particular duct tape.
And the width of the duct tape was not the same as regular duct tape, right?
Correct. It was a gaffer's tape, it says. So it was thinner than your average duct tape. So that and the portion of the brush, the paintbrush that was used to physically violate her was missing as well. So there's a couple things that are not coming to light or is not present or found in the household, which means that if the parents were responsible, they would have had to have an opportunity to get rid of it, which we don't see any time frame in which they had in order to be able to get rid of those things, at least so that they were never found. We lost you on that pineapple message, but we're down to the last minute now. So we're going to be getting to the pineapple, I believe, here soon. We're going to get into that information so we can cover the pineapple on the next episode.
Okay. But I just thought that was really, really weird.
We lost
we couldn't hear.
Explaining.
Yeah, we lost your audio altogether.
Well, they didn't like it because I obviously got into something I wasn't supposed to get into. That's why they cut me off.
Well, we'll hear you next time.
Can you? Yeah. Can you say it really quick?
So, apparently, pineapple does something to a woman's body where it makes you WET down there.
Whoa.
Yes, when you eat it. And
Okay,
I was like, what?
We'll definitely come back to that.
I immediately thought about Jonbenet. I was like, holy shit. Oh my God.
Oh, that's sickening if that's true. But
I know.
now I feel like I need to go do this test over the weekend.
I know.
All right, you guys, that is our final minute. We are done for this week. I know that we didn't hit much on the Jonbenet Ramsey, but I did feel that the other issues were very important just to show that we are still seeing the same type of syndicate and mob activities that are continuing on, and the rich still get away with whatever it is that they want to get away with. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Thank you guys for being here.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.